back in, jerk-offs. How you doing? It is me, Daniel Muggleton. Hello. Talking to you from London in the springtime. The spring is sprung. There's sunshine. It's still not warm, but hey, that's all you want. Once you get into the low teens, you're pretty happy. Pretty happy in the UK. It feels good. Get a t-shirt. Get out there. Do some physical activity. Watch some, English people put on sunscreen. Feel weird about it, but also feel superior. That's a nice moment. That's a nice time. Well, it's good to be here. I have a very interesting chat for you this week. I'm pretty excited to have him on. The guest is Simon Brodkin, but some of you might know him better as Lee Nelson. Yeah, he's a very, very famous character comedian in the UK. My relationship with Simon is a little bit strange compared to most people because I've only really known him performing as himself. It is something that he's only started doing recently, and every time I have seen him, it has been as himself rather than as his very popular character, Lee Nelson. Lee Nelson, of course, had a couple of TV shows. He's performed huge sold-out national tours, like tons of dates. I think he's actually still in the middle of one right now. But I've only known Simon as Simon, and it's quite funny. Well, not funny, but like interesting to meet an experienced comedian, but like someone who is still performing as quite a new comedian because he's never performed as himself before. So he's still kind of coming to terms with all the stuff that you have to do when you're just starting out, like, kind of finding your voice, like figuring out who you are, figuring out the kind of stuff that you want to talk about. And this episode is definitely going to involve a lot of talking about that because, as I love kind of figuring out different things about the UK, one of the things I very much enjoy is how different areas here are very different, Like Liverpool is proudly separate to the rest of the UK to the point where your boy Adam Rowe from episode number 2 would probably say that he's a Scouser, he's a Liverpudlian first before he's English or before he's British or before anything else. Like that's his primary identity. And the interesting thing about Simon is that he started out as a doctor. He was a junior doctor before starting comedy, and is Jewish. He's from North London, lived like very kind of comfortable upbringing. Yet his big character is South London, cheeky, laddish, described in the papers as a bit of a chav. Like, how does he occupy that character? Is there any blowback? Do people from that community enjoy him, or is it something that people from like that outside of that area kind of see as the caricature? Do they enjoy him? Then obviously he's got another character called Jason Bent. I'm going to keep calling him Darren because of footballer. Jason Bent, who is a footballer from Liverpool. Like, do people from Liverpool enjoy the character, or do they dislike the character? You got to remember, England is a very parochial place. Like, if you go to Liverpool, it's really hard to choose somewhere to eat because every restaurant has stunning reviews because they're all reviewed by people from Liverpool, and they bloody love it. You know why? Because it's from Liverpool. That's all they need. So I'm excited to talk to him about that. Just a couple little show things, little show news. This Friday, April 5th, I'm doing a preview of my 2019 show at 2 North Down, 8:15. Tickets are £5, but if you're a fan of the pod, just get at me. I'm happy to chuck you on the door. That's not a problem. Thank you for your support. Plus, it's nice to have some friendly faces in the room when you're doing some new material. So yeah, that's 2 North Down, April 5th. And then April 7th is the next Australian Comedians Dope Comedy down at the Backyard Comedy Club. So that's this Sunday, 8 p.m. start. The lineup is Steen Raskopoulos, Alice Bryan from New Zealand, who I'm very excited to see. She's just moved to London. And Nick El Rey, who is a bit of a veteran of the UK comedy circuit. I've not crossed paths with him yet, so I'm very excited to see him perform as well. All that stuff will be in the description if you want to come check it out, if you're in London, or if you've got any mates in London, send them along. And as always, if you do enjoy the podcast, please do give us a like on Facebook, give us a follow on Twitter at The Union Jackoff. If you want to review us on iTunes, that is super helpful. And as always, subscribe so you get these episodes without having to look for them. That's a proper ramble. This is a great episode, though. I think you guys are going to be excited to hear it. Simon Brodkin talking about becoming Lee Nelson and then becoming himself again as a comedian on the stage. Jerk-offs, wrap your ears around it. It's a cracker. Let's go. That's the gift I give you. You don't have to be interesting right away. Is that okay?
Oh, I see. You mean you start the thing. I thought you meant you'll talk over me once I start getting interesting.
No, absolutely not.
Yeah, 100%. That's nice. I will try and be interesting, like, from the first click.
For the first click, okay.
From the first question mark, I'm going to be like, bosh.
Bosh, bang, straight in?
Straight in.
Okay,
try
this is
me,
good.
baby.
I like you seem like you got a bit of energy, which I dig. This is like probably the latest I've ever recorded. Most people are midday people. You're coming in at night time.
You look like you've just got out of bed, to be fair.
I mean, this is how I look all the time now.
I've got my chamomile tea. I'm ready to start calming if it gets too energetic.
Well, that's it. You're drinking like you're going to bed. I'm dressed like I just got out of it. So we're at the perfect midpoint to have a nice conversation.
Let's do it.
Yeah, but no. Simon Brodkin, a.k.a. Lee Nelson, a.k.a. Jason Bent. I read that because in my head I keep calling him Darren Bent. And my first question, was yours before or was he first? Who was first?
Yeah. Well, Darren... So Darren Bent, the footballer, Darren Bent, right? Mm-hmm.
Because was he?
Well, he has got to have been alive before Jason, who was only invented I don't know how many years ago. So I've got to say that Darren Bent is. Let me just look up who is.
You're doing a Google. You're doing a mid-podcast Google.
I'm googling. What's the point in not Darren Ashley Bent, born in 1984, professional footballer. Plays for he's played for he's now with Burton Albion on loan. So
wow.
Jason's career is definitely better than his.
You've overtaken the actual.
No. Yeah, I don't know. Jason Benton. Well, whenever you name characters, you want them to be in this perfect place of believable.
Yeah.
But have that certain little playfulness about it.
Right.
And what Jason Bent allowed me to do is, well, it sounds great in a Scouse accent, Jason Bent, Jason Bent, you know. And then it allows you to do his autobiography, obviously, which is where things started.
Right.
110% bent.
Yeah, so you had your first joke
bent,
built in.
And then more bent, and then more bent than ever, and then bend it like bent, and then you've just got a series of simple jokes based around the word bent.
Around the name.
Where can you go wrong when you're starting off a character?
There you go. And like that's all just from the name. You've already got that all figured out.
Exactly. That's
so do you start...
Oh,
sorry. Do you start with a name when you're coming up with a character? Or do you be like, oh, it'd be cool if there was just some Scouse footballer?
No, I think that would be
bag.
like doing a game show with the name first. It's probably a good idea to think of the core of the idea and then go from there. But whenever you name characters, yeah, they go through these little life cycles and none of them... Well, a lot of them don't start off with that name.
Right.
So, in fact, I think Jason Bent's original name was Gavin Webster. And then I found out there was another comedian.
Yeah, Newcastle's Gavin Webster.
Gavin Webster. And I can't remember whether I found that out, whether he told me or what happened. And then Jason Bent was born after that.
And in hindsight, Jason Bent, far superior name.
Oh, I mean, I don't want to say this, with Gavin Webster, who isn't in a similar situation as me, where he can just change his name just at the whim, on a whim, in case it's better. But yeah, Bent superior to Webster, undoubtedly. 110% Gavin just doesn't have
as much fun as Darren.
No, Jason.
Oh, Jason, yeah, fuck. I knew I was going to do that.
You've really done your research. You set out straight away. You've done your research.
I did. I like to come in hot, because, I think I'm in a very interesting position with you because you're at one of the first proper gigs I ever did in London.
Outside the box?
No. It was before that. It was like just when I got here.
Okay.
Backyard Comedy Club. It was just like the new material night.
Yes, Thursday nights at Backyard.
You went on as yourself.
Yes, which must have been pretty early on for me because that's been all very new for me.
Exactly. So you were performing as yourself, which was like one of the earliest times. You were kind of brought on with like, this man is known for being Lee Nelson, but please meet Simon Brodkin. And then I was at the back being like, oh, like, you know, this is fun. Like, this guy's quite famous because, like, you know, I didn't know. Like, I'm an Australian. We don't have character comedy in Australia. We don't allow it. It's part of our culture. So, and then I went to meet a friend. I'm like, I met this guy and he was performing like, yeah, you know that Lee Nelson's a Jewish guy. And he was like, what?
I'm glad that was your take home from the gig.
Yeah, because I
saw Simon Brodkin perform as himself. Do you know he's a Jew?
Yeah, that's what I do.
Is he funny? I just couldn't get over the Jew thing.
Yeah, he's Jewish. He's funny, of course. Like, what are you talking about?
They all are.
It's a given. Like, but no, it was just I just got this really weird conversation with another guy who I'd just met because everyone was new. And I'm like, no, he's 100% Jewish, like, for sure. And he just was like, no, he's not. And I'm like, I was there. Like, I saw, and I had to check with another guy. So that was my introduction to you.
Okay.
And then we finally got to, like, hang and talk.
And you got to properly check. And outside the box, went to the toilet together, and I saw you peering over, and you were like, yeah, he's a Jew.
Well,
as
look,
you were FaceTiming your mate. I saw it all, and that was proof.
I'd already verified your Judaism, but, you know, at a urinal.
How did you verify the Judaism?
Well, I asked another guy who was there, and he's like, yeah, he's definitely mentioned being Jewish. He definitely mentioned it on stage. So like, yeah, it must be.
I've done whole bits about being Jewish, and audiences are so strange, that balance between the truth and not truth when you're doing comedy. And obviously, as a character comedian, there's that whole area of just utter creation. But when I started doing stuff as me, I would have thought that what you say as you is believed by the audience. I did the whole thing. I Jewed the crap out of this gig. And then she came up to me afterwards, intelligent woman, a lawyer, who was a friend of a friend who happened to come and see me that night.
Yeah.
And she said, I'm Jewish. Are you really Jewish too? And I was just baffled that someone would think that I'd yabbled on for 15 minutes about being a Jew and what happens as a Jew. And it would just be,
yeah, I mean, that's insane.
I just made that one up.
That's very skeptical from her.
Well, it's interesting, isn't it? It just goes to show how there is this weird relationship with the audience. Because comics do talk a lot of rubbish sometimes. So
and like some stories, you know, are exaggerated and there's hyperbole. But if you're going 15 minutes on like growing up or being Jewish, I think everyone should be like, yeah, I think he probably is.
There wouldn't have been any argument. In my mind, I was Jewing and still it got questioned at the end.
Yeah. And but have you found that weird, like being a character?
Being Jewish?
No, not being Jewish. I mean, this is the thing. I feel like in the UK at the moment, this is a very difficult conversation. People are concerned.
It's only difficult if you come from a certain point of view that makes it difficult. But otherwise, talking about being a Jew is all good.
Well, man, I've been. Because I've talked to a few people about this, just like the anti-Semitism thing here. Because like I just found that weird. Because I kind of walked into it. I don't really pay attention to UK politics, but my takeaways have been Brexit is complicated, and Jeremy Corbyn hates Jewish people. Like those are like my two like things that have just been left with. And then I'm
That's
like,
what your diary is full of. Your gap year diary.
Yeah, it's just like, what did you learn about the UK?
Diary.
Well.
Today I found out.
Here we go.
Okay, I'll leave the Aussie accent.
No, you can keep the Aussie accent in. No, because I think I was watching a clip of you, and you were making fun of an Australian person with the accent. I was like, good for you. Yeah, you should have one. Everyone should have one in the tank. You know what I mean? I don't have one, but other people should. But no, I just found it really odd. And then I've talked to other people about this, and I had no idea the UK Jewish population was so low. Like it's like the same percentage as like Australia, which is not a particularly Jewish place.
There aren't many Jews.
Yeah,
is the truth of the matter.
Yeah,
we have a very small squad.
Yeah,
and it is interesting. It is interesting. I'm writing about this actually in my stuff as me, and talking about how we did shoot ourselves in the foot slightly because we're not allowed to ask people to convert.
Right.
So people just have to look at the curly hair and the and the tights and the furry hat and just think I want in.
Yeah, they make assumptions.
I want to be part of that.
Yeah, because you can convert, because Isla
No, you
Fisher...
can convert,
Yeah.
but you are not allowed to ask people to convert.
Oh, is that... I did not know that.
Which is how Christianity...
we love that.
Just really went on the rampage.
That's mainly what we do.
Exactly. So Jews have got that whole thing taken out. So
Right.
if you like us, you got to come to us.
Interesting. You guys are like, we're not going to advertise.
Exactly.
This store...
It's old school.
We sell it. It sells
We
itself.
are pretty confident in our product.
Yeah.
We're not tacky. We're not going to go around shouting about it.
That's
We're not
funny.
going to take out big adverts. If you like it, speak to me about it.
Yeah. This ain't some high street shit.
Yeah. If
All
you're
right?
interested
This is a luxury
if you're
brand.
interested in the never-ending hate and the the age-old tropes that cut, I'm sure it's going to attract quite a few people.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, Seinfeld, the guy converting to Judaism for the jokes. You a Seinfeld guy?
No.
Well, Tim Watley, the dentist, he's like, I'm a Jew now, and he keeps telling Jerry all these like Jewish jokes. And then then Jerry goes to see his rabbi, and he's like, I think he converted for the jokes. And he had a real issue with it. He's like, I'm not offended as a Jew, I'm offended as a comedian.
I mean, obviously Seinfeld, one of the absolute classics, went passed me by.
Yeah.
Never caught an ep. And went and looked the other day because they've got the whole thing up on Netflix or Amazon Prime and started watching.
It's great,
from
right?
the off.
Oh, don't watch from the beginning.
I did watch from the beginning.
Oh boy,
and it was a bit of not a struggle. It felt dated and
it's a slog.
Fairly slow.
Started season 3 or 4.
Oh really?
Yeah. I think even Jerry Seinfeld will tell you to start at season 3 or 4.
And amazing, but it must have been good enough to continue.
They
not many
along.
things get to be good only from season 3. So it must have shown something, or they must have absolutely loved him.
There's a whole thing, and if you go to the DVDs and the extras, they really explain that it was this close so many times. Like they kept thinking they were going to get cancelled. Like if you look at the endings of seasons, that's when it was going to be cancelled.
Fascinating.
And Larry David being like, I can't write 13 more of these. Like, and then they did like 25 by
amazing.
like 8 seasons.
The numbers that they spew out in America it's a real reason to not want to get successful out there, because we think
just the work involved.
Yeah, just the work. We think we're smashing it. Yeah. We're on 6 episodes. You wouldn't believe how hard I've got to work.
Yeah.
They would
second
laugh.
Lot of 6.
6 is their Christmas special.
Oh, dude, yeah. I'm watching Law and Order. Like my girlfriend and I, she's just like, "What are we gonna do when we run out of episodes of Law and Order?" And I'm like, "We will never."
I've got into The Good
episodes.
Wife. I don't want to really.
I
feel embarrassed by this, but it's finally jumped the shark, as they say, on like season. I can't remember what, and I'm just you know a series has lost it when you just don't care anymore, and instead of just staying up night after night after night to get the next one, then you're suddenly like, you know what, I don't care. But it's just good writing, episode after episode of good writing. So what happened with Seinfeld? What do they say
they just,
happened or didn't happen between series 1 and series 3?
They just say that like they finally kind of clicked. Like there were like glimpses of what the show was about, but like they kind of, I think they went down more like mainstream structures with like the episodes and the plots and things like that. Like they kind of have Jerry and Elaine get together for a bit, and then after season 3, like they just kind of let it go. And the episode they say that changed it all was The Contest, which is the one about them having a contest who can not masturbate for the longest. And that was, I think, season 4, maybe episode 8 or 9. I'm a big Seinfeld guy.
Yeah, amazing.
And and that was like once the network kind of saw the way that was received, because that was quite a dirty thing in like the 90s.
Yes.
And then like once they saw how that was received and kind of let them go down their own path and let Larry David run wild.
Very interesting.
Well, there you go. Now you know.
What season are you on with this podcast?
This podcast, we are one season,
so
we can't be cancelled.
People will be watching this in a few years' time, going, you could see glimpses.
Well,
and I'll tell you what I will do just to try and get success. I will not masturbate for the next
thank you so
however
much.
Long, so we can get a sprinkling of the Seinfeld magic.
Look, we've got 70 minutes. If you can just keep
keep
your hands where I can see them.
That's why I'm clinging on to this mug of tea.
That's why I have the chamomile. Puts you in a calm mood.
Exactly.
Don't want to get too randy. But no, it's funny about Seinfeld because I think Seinfeld kind of passed not just you but the UK by, which again brings me back to this thing where it's like I think in America there's a lot of at least awareness of Judaism culturally, whereas here it's not really there.
Now, I'm not going to profess to be the most learned person. Obviously, I am a Jew, so I can talk about it and sound like I know what I'm talking about.
Sure.
By saying just a few of the right terms for Jews. But the...
Just the good jargon.
My understanding is America is much more built on multiculturalism. How old is it? I don't know, 200 years old? 230 years old? I don't know. 200, and so Jews have had a part to play from very early on in the entertainment industry.
Sure.
And so it was built with Jews.
Yeah.
As part of it, not just by Jews, but they were part of the early stand-up and the early entertainment.
Yeah.
So there's always been a very Jewish through line. Plus the numbers of Jews in America. Jews in America are the second largest number of Jews outside of Israel, and it's pretty similar, the numbers.
Well, yeah, I looked it up. I can't remember exactly, but I think in America it's about 5.5 million.
Right, and in Israel,
in the UK it's like quarter of a million.
Absolutely. So you've got the numbers alone, but obviously America is a bigger place. There'll be more of everyone. But in UK entertainment, the Jews were a late addition.
Sure.
And so, as any sensible Jew would do, just by looking back at our history, you keep your head down. You don't go on about being Jewish. You fit in with what is already happening.
Yeah.
Whereas in America, the Jews have been much more fabric of all society out there. So, of course, you go on about you being a Jew because there's no threat. So you'd be prouder of your culture and much more... and you can happily throw it about more.
Yeah.
So if you look at so many comedies on television and film and stand-up, there is a Jewish thread. Often there's every wedding ceremony in every Hollywood movie ends with a mazel tov.
Absolutely.
And a smashing of the glass. And I often wonder what are people in England thinking? Like, the people in America try and cut their feet.
It's this weird American tradition where they stamp on the glass.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And there is often a skull cap, or there's often every wedding's Jewish. And
that is really fun. I'd never thought about that, but you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
Just even in I remember Wedding Crash, there's the series of weddings, and I think they kick off with the Jewish wedding.
Of course, that's
and then
the
chair,
the chairs in the air, the crazy dancing,
all the tropes.
They're
traditions.
They're not negative, all the Jewish shtick. Whereas in the UK, much smaller population, and you just didn't want to bang on about your ethnicity.
Sure. But do you as Simon Brodkin, as the man himself, do you not identify as being Jewish, but do you feel like being Jewish is a big part of your culture in the UK? Or?
Well, look, really interesting, because this is stuff that I'm battling with and trying to find out the answers to by doing straight stand-up. Now, I've always done character stuff, and a few months ago made the leap into the unknown of doing stuff as myself, which was a huge thing for me to really do, because obviously having been doing the character stuff and doing loads of tours as Lee Nelson. Indeed, I'm still on tour as Lee Nelson right now.
So you're doing both?
I'm doing both.
Yeah, you're in a couple of hit shows right now.
Careers.
Yeah.
And Lee's about to turn up now. I can't remember what time you invited him for. No. So when you saw me, we were talking about the gig where we first met a little while ago.
Yeah.
So that would have been one of the first times I'd ever done, out of character stuff. And when you do out of character stuff, where do you go? And
who do you talk about, right?
Who do you talk about? You got to talk about yourself. And when you talk about yourself, you start having to ask yourself questions about these things. And it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And a massive challenge to do straight stand-up. And in doing straight stand-up, these are the questions I've been asking. What are you? Who are you? Yeah. And the Jew thing as something that I'm addressing and talking about. And it's something that I, in traditional terms that we just talked about, never really mentioned, never talked about. And with the current climate where anti-Semitism, along with other racism sadly is growing, and there's been particular attention to it, obviously, with the Labour Party and with Corbyn. It's something that I've felt like I wanted to talk about and want to address.
Sure.
Which is so yeah, I guess I do want to talk about it now. And that's a change for me, a big change.
Yeah, great. Well, look, let's just kind of go into the characters for a little bit, and then I want to loop back around. I'm going to meet you here in a minute.
It's going to be the Pulp Fiction.
That's
podcasts.
It. Yeah, we're gonna have a non-linear narrative, right? Beautiful. We're gonna sort it out. Non-linear. Yeah, you said by an Australian. Fuck you. We do more than 10 bar. That's to everybody, not just Simon. I have jokes about that shit as well. But no, that's like if like Australia is like an equivalent thing, like intellectualism, I think in Australia is kind of the way that like a lot of Jewish people in the UK treat Judaism. Something you do
Keep
privately
your head down, mate.
in your house. You have like a little community.
Don't let anyone know, mate.
Exactly.
Keep the glasses in the drawer.
You don't know what they might think. They might start treating you different. All right. So character comedy, something I find very fascinating because I have no imagination. So the idea of being anyone but myself is ludicrous. Like
this is yin and yang here.
Exactly. So this is why I'm fascinated.
So you're really being you.
Yeah.
No, I'm joking.
That's like I know it seems like a character, poorly thought out, very average name, but a character nonetheless. Actually, pretty
Muggleton.
good name.
That's thought through. That's
weirdly, I was going to go with Gavin Muggleton, but then I met this Australian comedian. But no, it's like I find it so fascinating, and I think England has a very rich history of character comedy, probably more than anywhere in the world. I think you guys embrace character comedy, sketch comedy.
It's interesting, isn't it? Maybe
like America,
again,
it's a brick wall.
Some pseudo psychology, but Americans do seem to be more comfortable with talking about themselves and being proud about themselves.
Yeah.
In the UK, there is a little bit like a sort of don't keep things down, old chap.
Yeah, pull your head in.
Yeah.
That Australian vibe, like, come on, man, keep it to yourself. Like, what are you doing?
Right.
Whereas
exactly.
Americans, like any American, I always think any American give a speech. Any American give a rousing speech. Like you get a plumber mid-pipe
100%.
fix.
I mean, you don't want anyone of the half-time ice hockey game.
Exactly.
You don't want an English chap coming in.
No,
you want someone, come on, Pachansky, you're on for the second half.
Yeah.
So, yeah, interesting. I'd never thought about that. I don't know whether it's true, but yeah, it allows one to step into someone else's skin and be as loud and as opinionated and as different and as forceful and as proud of what they're meant to represent as you like.
Yeah. It's like you're setting your own rules now.
Totally.
It's like I don't need to be quiet because I should be a quiet person. I'm not even being me.
Yeah.
I can do anything.
Yeah.
So you, sir, I don't know if you know this, but you actually used to be a doctor. I know this because I did my research. You used to be a doctor.
I'd forgotten about that.
Yeah, I know. Unbelievable. Time flies, doesn't it? Like, you just really get wrapped up in the whole comedy thing. But no, you used to be a doctor. Practicing? Did you get in hospitals?
I got into hospitals. I got inside patients.
Wow. So you were proper...
I was a pro.
How long?
Had the white coat. Had the listening thing.
How many years were you practicing before you...
1 year as a junior doctor.
1 year, and then you went away with the comedy.
And then, yeah.
Interesting. So as were you doing comedy like the whole way through? And like,
were you making people laugh? Like,
oh no, absolutely not. That's a horrible thing to do.
No, it was pretty much a clean break.
So you stopped being a doctor, started doing comedy.
Basically.
That's insane.
It does sound, in hindsight, slightly insane. And if anyone were to ask me advice, I would say, don't be a dick. But yes, that's pretty much what happened, yeah.
Yeah, that's so... And so what... like?
I think when you're doing medicine, it is so all-encompassing.
I would imagine.
And indeed, my current wife dumped me. I mean, I intend her to be my wife, not just currently, but she dumped me. We only just met in Manchester, where I was studying, and she got rid of me because she didn't believe that I was working. I was like, I can't see you because I have to work. This was during my finals, and she had never met anyone from a course whereby that number of hours would possibly be given over to actual studying. So she just thought I was bullshitting.
Right, so you were studying, and she was like, he must be doing something else, seeing someone on the side. No one could possibly...
Exactly. It's like he's using the old studying at university as a ruse.
That's funny.
I was actually studying at university. So the point I was making is it's hard work. And then once you get into hospital, it's kind of even harder work. It's just never ending. And I always was like, I'm going to write some comedy. But it is... there's just no room for it. There's, so it's exhausting.
I remember I went to like a conference, like when I was a younger man.
Are you comparing like the hardest day work you've ever done?
No.
I actually went to a conference, mate.
I've never done any work. I want to make that very clear.
Have you not?
I've never done any work. But I went, when I was at school, I went to a thing like, oh, so you want to be a doctor? It was like one of those,
Classic.
oh, you think you're something, don't you? This is what being a doctor is actually like. And the one thing they said was, you never stop working. You're always on call, and you'll be required to take exams.
And
till
you left
die.
the conference
and
at
I
tea.
was like, that's it. I'm out. And then I went to law school like a fucking idiot, and totally wasted my time for 5 years. But now,
you did go to law school.
I graduated, baby.
You didn't do so you know what hard work's like.
No. I law school's words, man. You can. I don't know if you can tell. I'm quite good with them. I can get by on very little.
You've just been writing a set as we've been talking.
That's it.
You've just knocked out an Edinburgh show.
I mean, I'm going to listen back
Left
to this.
brain, right brain.
No, it was very funny because I think when you go, like, I think you're actually like a better example of this because like when I kind of see your comedy, it's very well thought out and very structured and very meticulous, not unlike a doctor.
Interesting.
Whereas I'm a horrific example of a law student.
But you charge a hell of a lot for people to see you.
That's it. And I charge by the minute. 6-minute increments, baby. That's how we do it. It's called a spreadsheet. I've never filled one out, but I hear they're nice. But no, it's just it's funny that you just switched like that. I switched in terms of I finished uni and I was like, no. Like I got offered clerkships and things and I was like, no interest, and just kind of went into other stuff. But for you to have worked for like a year and then just be like, I'm gonna start doing comedy, so I better finish doing medicine. I find that interesting.
Well, I was tempted to stop before the year. But my mum, being a nice Jewish boy, persuaded me of no, it wasn't just my mum, but it's persuaded me of the look, I don't regret it for a second. Once you do the training, it's utterly different to actually doing the medicine. And now they can never, that knowledge of knowing just how awful the NHS is can never be taken away from me. I don't think I would have known to tell all my friends and family to stay away from hospitals whenever you can, but now I've got that golden knowledge.
Really? That was the main takeaway? It's like, this is horrific.
No, it's amazing. It's amazing. The NHS, amazing. Tragically underfunded, and from what I understand, it ain't got much better since. Some say that I was one of the key departure moments but no, it's amazing, but it needs more.
It needs more.
And I did stop, and I remember on the last day there's this big changeover day when all the junior doctors go from one job to another.
Sure.
And this bastard consultant just said, so what job are you doing next? And I'd been up all night the night before, which I was meant to, doing the shift through the night. Right. And had I got another job, I would have had to immediately leave at 8 a.m. and go to this next job. And
your next placement.
Next placement.
Gotcha.
So, and I had the car packed and ready to drive to London. Yeah. And I told him that I didn't have another job to go to, and he was like, "Well, great, you can be my junior doctor for today." And then I did like another horrendous 12-hour shift with this bastard.
You did the shift?
I did the shift. What could I say? I mean, I didn't want to burn my bridges. I didn't completely know the comedy would work out. I mean, had I known what I know now, I would have told him to go fuck himself. No, yeah. I did the shift and then nearly died driving home, just utterly exhausted. So in fact, and the cold comedy thing nearly didn't happen due to death on the road.
Due
I
to
remember
this one
phoning a
man.
mate and just talking, just going, keep me awake, keep me awake, keep me awake, keep me awake.
Just out of politeness, you did that final shift. Final
shift.
12 hours.
Should have said no.
I
saved a few lives, obviously.
Obviously.
And I hope they're listening today.
You're a fucking hero.
They were just babies when I...
All right, let's get into the characters then. So you left Manchester where you were doing medicine.
Yeah.
And then you drove down to London.
Yeah.
And you just started...
So let's get this journey...
Right. And then just started.
M1, M6.
But you hadn't even lived here for a bit.
No, I hadn't lived in London for 6 years.
And then you're just like, I'm going to come in.
Came in.
I'm going to do comedy. I'm going to do characters.
Essentially, yes. I mean, when you say it like that, it does sound round the fucking bend, but yes.
But this is the thing that's like, I'm just impressed by it all. Like, I'm like, that's amazing. Like, just the confidence to just turn up, very difficult comedy scene. London, huge
ignorance
market.
Is bliss.
And you just were just like, I'm coming in.
Ignorance is bliss.
It is, and I love
Knowledge
that.
Knowledge is power. That's another phrase I could just throw out there. But ignorance is bliss, and I had no concept of what comedy was. I had no concept of what the comedy industry was. I didn't even really know about stand-up comedy.
Yeah.
I knew a few characters that I'd seen on the television, some Harry Enfield, some Sacha Baron Cohen, some Ricky Gervais in The Office, some what was another one? Some Steve Coogan.
Yeah.
That's what I knew. I didn't know.
So you just seen that.
I just seen that.
And you'd be like, I want to do that.
I can pretend to be different people.
Were you already doing accents? Did you have little moves?
I could do French incredibly well. No,
Très bien.
That alone was enough.
Yeah.
To say no to medicine. No. So I obviously I'd always made people laugh.
Sure. Did you do like plays and stuff at school?
No, I never did drama.
Never did anything.
And the more you are reminding me of my past, the more I feel I really shouldn't have succeeded. On paper,
dude,
there was nothing.
You've taken one swing with a golf club, it's landed in the hole, and you've been like, I'm pretty good at golf now, and just fucking walked off into the sunset. It's amazing. I'm in awe of this.
In hindsight, I'm really thinking I made an error. And I'm going to phone up Trafford Hospital now and go, you know what? I do not have the qualifications to leave this profession.
Yeah.
Give me that job back. Yeah, I didn't know what I was doing. I'd always made people laugh at school. I'd never done any drama or any plays. I had no idea about the stand-up circuit. I had no idea about the Edinburgh Festival. I just knew that I was good at pretending to be other people and making people laugh, something that I'd always done with ease throughout the whole of my life.
In your social circles?
This was
a very casual
just
thing.
Just a funny bloke who could do a French accent.
Yeah.
Let's throw away medicine for this.
Just start going.
Really stupid.
No.
Really stupid. So
it's great.
And I put some stuff on tape.
Yeah. So you just filmed yourself?
I just filmed myself.
Did a little reel, like a Saturday Night Live little audition, couple of characters?
Exactly. My dad always win things. He's a great wordsmith himself. And always won these captions. I would like to win XYZ because...
Oh, the 25 words or less.
That's my man. That's my dad. Unfortunately now, because of the dumbing down of society, there ain't many of them about.
No,
it's the reality TV
That's just
generation. It's now just tweet us, send in your address. Or even if you don't know where you live, just send us your first name. So
we'll find you.
His glory years of competition wins have been quashed because of there just aren't those about because no one can be bothered.
Yeah.
So
now you got to do videos and stuff. Like have a video of you.
Is that right?
With like I got a friend who does that for a living.
What
in
does
Australia,
the competitions?
He just does competitions, basically.
Oh my God. Well, this is fascinating. My dad, you should get my dad on this show. He's won so many things, and he continues to win because of perseverance. But there aren't. What a guy! I want to. I like Twining's tea because it makes the poorer richer.
That's good. And you know how he's spelling poorer.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
baby.
you do.
This is a podcast, but people can just see those letters popping up in front of their eyes. Thank you very much. I'll have a car.
That's fucking awesome.
That's a car.
And he just does that. And so that's how you got the camera.
That's
he won the
how we
camera.
got the camera. He won the camera.
So what did you do with the camera? What happens next with the camera?
Then he won a producer and a director. So
he won BBC Three. Is what he won.
He won a year as commissioning editor at BBC Three.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Whacked me in, bish bosh bash, and never looked back. He won the and then I would put these things together of had the footballer.
Yeah,
I did.
That was already there. That was one of the early characters.
That was one of the early characters.
My
memory is not going to be perfect here.
That's okay.
But I do remember that Dr. Bob, then called Dr. Omprakash, was...
Dr. Omprakash?
Yes, was inspired by doctors who I'd encountered while working in a hospital.
That's
actual real ones.
That's what you've seen, you've observed, you've been there.
And some of the levels of incompetence bordering on negligence inspired me to have this wonderful doctor who's just absolutely, no concept of the absolute fool he is. So one of the first videos I did was this overseas doctor on the tube busking. So he's this overseas doctor who's come to the UK and now can't get a job.
Sure.
Because you can't. So he's way too qualified to be busking on the tube. And
so you're doing this in public? Immediately?
Yes.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And then I put a few of these characters onto VHS.
Yeah.
As it was.
VHS,
baby.
Tape to tape.
Tape to damn tape.
Love it.
And there were silent movies, obviously. Didn't have the technology then.
They had a piano player.
And yes.
Obviously.
My dad won a piano player.
Okay.
And I went around on my BMX to various different production houses that I'd got from that book called, and I can't remember the damn name. There's a book which is, and obviously it's not a book now. It's probably online.
Yeah.
But it was full of all the different production companies.
Oh, right.
And they listed all their credits.
Yeah.
And I'd look through them, and the ones that did comedy and comedy shows I'd heard of, highlight it with my pen.
And then just go around the BMX.
And then I go around the BMX.
With the tape.
With the tape, in a jiffy bag. I mean, this sounds madness, doesn't it? This is nuts. What am I doing?
What year was this?
This was 1812, obviously.
Oh, fuck. So you had a gas lamp, writing with a quill. Character comedian S. Brodkin.
As I went horse-drawn carriage through. Yeah. So what year was this? This was more than 15-ish years ago. 50.
Wow. So early 2000s.
Yeah.
We're talking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I would.
So pre-YouTube? Is this pre-YouTube? Because people forget that YouTube wasn't really a thing until 2005.
Yeah. I mean, it certainly wasn't on my radar. I'm sure it probably kicked off maybe, but it wasn't in my radar. It wasn't in my conscience. It wasn't in that's going to be something that I will whack it on. This was...
Yeah. And okay,
in my head, I knew I liked characters.
Sure.
And I knew I liked watching them on telly.
Yeah.
I thought I was funny, and I thought I could pretend to be characters. So I put these characters onto tape and went around to the production companies.
You can put it on telly.
And I just put them in and said, that, with a little covering note. I'd love to pull out that note now. It would just say something like, dear, really polite and really
regards, Dr. Simon.
Really,
Brodkin.
it would be like, I have just, I've just thrown away a perfectly respectable and healthy career in medicine. Please help, ASAP. Ta. So it was, I'm sure, a very politely written letter laying out
what happened.
What I'd done.
I'm getting too invested. What happened now? They call back? Any calls?
I'm leaving a gap for... Should we come back after the break?
No.
Presumably you've got sponsors.
No, never. I need to know.
I get a phone call or email from the comedy commissioner at Channel 4.
Get the fuck out of here.
Robert Popper.
Good name.
Who
Bob
said,
Popper.
This is hilarious. Love the Doctor character. I want to put you on television.
Come on. You're fucking with me.
I haven't recounted this story. And me recounting it to you and you laughing at every stage and me realising this is madness.
No, because...
What is going on here?
Look, I just read, like, the Saturday Night Live book, which has, like, a lot of bizarre, like, this is how I got successful. And this one is way up there.
Amazing.
Just like, this is me busking on a train as a doctor character. I dropped the tape off on a BMX, and then... the TV man calls me and says, would you like to be on TV?
It's true. It's all actually true.
2004 was a simpler time.
It's crazy times, man. This was pre-ISIS, don't forget.
Oh, okay. This is before everyone was scared.
Exactly.
Okay. So then what happens then? You meet up with the man.
So I was like, yeah, cool. Obviously, that's going to happen. I've dropped in some tapes into TV people, and obviously then they put you on television. So he calls me in. Turn up to Horsefree Road. The plush office is there, obviously. Just look up where Channel 4 is. He goes, come in, see me. Went in. He goes, well, we want to get you on telly.
Yeah.
And really funny. What we'll do is, those slots, I don't think they exist anymore. They were 7:55 after the Channel 4 news.
Like the 5-minute little before the next show.
Bosh.
Amazing.
He goes, just do a run of them.
A run of them?
A run of
Not
the
one.
week. The week.
Did he know that you'd been doing comedy for, I assume, a month at this stage?
Yeah, because my letter was perfectly honest. He goes, have you got an agent? I'm like, what? Like a what? No, I've obviously heard of an agent, but no agent. So he said, well, listen, I'll recommend you to my agent. She's one of the top agents in the business because he's a writer as well.
Right.
And then got signed by her. Obviously, if one of your clients who's now commissioner at Channel 4, I know this in hindsight, goes, I've got this guy, think he's really funny, going to put him on television, would you like to represent him? Yeah. No one's going to go, nah. No, what, you mean he comes complete with a commission? Nah.
I don't want 15% of that.
Exactly. So I then was just, sure, you want to do that? Let's do that. He goes, what do you want to do? So I had a little think and I emailed him some ideas, and he was just like, just do the doctor character. Just
different situations.
Just do the 5 doctor character. Do the doctor character.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay.
And you just did. What'd you do? Did you take him different places?
Well, what we did was he then put me. He goes, obviously you're gonna need somewhere to make the program.
Of course.
Go with Bulls. What's their name? Who won they were one of the top.
I wouldn't know probably. If there's like a TV thing or like an Edinburgh sketch thing, I wouldn't know.
Okay, it would be funny if you knew because they were one of the top production companies. But so he goes, just make it with them.
Right.
Which sounds amazing. Talkback, that's it.
Talkback,
right.
Sure.
Talkback, huge.
Big company.
Very
successful
successful company. So within a very short space of time, I'd got some slots on TV, an agent, and I was working with Talkback, which all sounds amazing.
But have you been on a comedy club stage?
No.
No.
Nothing. Never held a microphone in my life.
Amazing. Yeah, keep going. This is great.
And so we started making this. It was going to be called From Baghdad to Balam.
Yeah.
About an Iraqi doctor
who
comes over to the UK and can't practice medicine, obviously, work visas, etc., etc.
And then so he's doing these other things.
And was doing these other things.
Gotcha.
And from Baghdad to Balam. And what's funny is when it went in the papers, that 5-minute slot after the news had never, ever been given over to comedy.
Oh.
So the only people that took an interest in it was the local Iraqi community in the United Kingdom.
Oh, wow.
That were like, you've got to watch this show. I remember looking at this on the internet. It's going to be so interesting. There's this guy who's come from Baghdad to Balam, thinking it's a real thing.
Because it's after the news.
It's after the news.
Oh, my God. So they think it's a current affairs.
I think it's a current affairs thing.
Fucking hell.
So while it sounds dream world, and of course it is in many aspects, you've got the commissioning editor of Channel 4 invite me and go, make this, do this. here's a top agent, here's a top production company, here's some slots.
Yeah.
I had absolutely no idea what I was doing.
Yeah.
I mean, it reminded me of my medical career in many ways. Just operate on that, Brodkin.
Wear the surgical mask so they can't see you freak out.
Exactly.
Yeah,
and talk back. What are they going to care? They were making Ali G.
Sure.
They were making Bo Selector.
Right. So just huge programs. And you're just like some kid that doesn't know what's going on.
Not only doesn't know what's going on, I didn't have any degree of A, knowledge, B, confidence, experience, understanding of how it worked.
Yeah.
Totally out my depth. And in their hands, and into the hands of one of the busiest, most successful production companies there is.
Right. So they're like, who's this work experience kid?
Who's this work experience
Who's his dad? Why is he here?
Yeah, they're busy people.
Yeah, sure.
Production companies don't have producers going, I've got a few days off here. I think I will, anything new, So I just sort of fell between the cracks a little bit there.
Right.
And I didn't know what I was doing.
But you got it filmed? You got everything sorted?
We got it just about sorted.
What was the reception?
Well, there wasn't a reception because who's watching 5-minute shows at 7:55 that are meant to be current affairs? There wasn't any reception. It wasn't like
no review, no coverage, nothing.
No coverage, no nothing.
So you snuck onto TV and off TV without anyone noticing.
It was almost like the shortest career there'd ever been.
But the shortest career times 5.
Yes. I don't think it was on a Friday.
Okay. Oh well, 4
times 4.
Apologies.
It was, a whirlwind of.
But you've been on TV after how long before dropping the thing
really
to the being on TV? Like 3 months?
I'm gonna guess, definitely months. I mean, weeks. It could have been.
Right, so just like no time, really. No time. Just like not even...
No time.
You're not even changing your thing on your tax yet. You're still a doctor.
I'm 100% still a doctor.
But you've been on TV.
I turned up day one with my white coat. I was...
Of course you played doctor.
It was the perfect thing.
So, all right. So then from there, what happens next? Because this... Do you just keep doing stuff for this the Channel 4 guy?
So after being hounded down by the Iraqi community for
they were offended by it.
They weren't offended.
Oh, okay.
I've no idea. You know what? I've actually no idea. I would love to look up.
You don't have a big Iraqi fan base to this day. We fucking love him. He's our guy.
I don't remember how it was received.
Yeah.
I do remember it was just like, what am I doing? What is this?
Sure.
How does this work? And also I remember just going to the offices of Talkback going, holy shit, in that office they're making Bo Selector. In that office they're making Ali G. In that office they're making... they had huge shows.
Yeah.
And seeing these people, bits from the set. There'll be Bo Selector masks.
Right. And you're just there freaking out as a fan.
Yeah, just like, what is going on?
Yeah.
Did that, and that obviously I ended up with a bit of experience.
Yeah.
An agent.
And a TV credit.
Great. But then, it's back to square one.
Yeah. So then what happens now? Give me... Because we got to make our leap to Lee Nelson. How does this man get to Lee Nelson?
Then I got Well Good Show. No.
Yeah. It all just happened immediately.
So then I think I... this is going to be tricky to remember the exact timeline. That's it. Someone talked about the Edinburgh Festival.
Sure.
To me. I think it might have been Josie Long, who was like a friend of a friend.
So you're just in a conversation.
On the phone.
Oh, on the phone. Okay.
Like, you're doing comedy, aren't you? Like, I want to do comedy. She must have fucking hated my guts. She must have.
Right. That was like the 2004 version of the Facebook message. Like, hello, my friend. It's a comedian.
Exactly.
I want to be a comedian.
Phone each other.
Yeah.
I'm like, hi, is Josie there on her landline?
And while holding something from like Blockbuster Video.
Oh yeah, I go. Do you want to be a Blockbuster?
All the classics. But yeah, so you called Josie Long.
On my
she
roller
mentions
skates.
Edinburgh.
So I said, I'm doing this comedy thing.
Yeah.
You're doing it. What
do I do?
What do I do?
Sure.
And she was like, well, I'm going up to the Edinburgh Festival. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
It's like the Edinburgh Festival.
You didn't even know this was a thing.
Didn't know it was a thing.
Great.
Did not know it was a thing.
Great.
I was like, I should... Sounds worth swinging by.
So you put a show on?
No.
No, you just turn up.
Thank the Lord I didn't put... Thank the Lord my my bluster didn't go into... I'll just put on a show at the Edinburgh Festival.
Sure.
I went up to the Edinburgh Festival.
Yeah.
For like a couple of days, and I was like, holy shit.
Yeah, this is everything. This is all the comedy.
This is comedy. This is where comedy is. This is comedy. Hello, comedy.
Yeah.
And it opened me up to the world of stand-up.
So you met some people. They tell you about clubs. I didn't
necessarily meet people. I got it then. I got what happened. Aha. This is stand-up comedy.
You stopped being in the little crazy Brodkin bubble.
The Brodkin bubble
of like BMX and being on TV. Now it's like, no, there's like these
BMX wasn't going anywhere, mate. Not for a while. But yeah, the Brodkin bubble of just going straight to Channel 4 commissioners.
Yeah.
And going straight on Channel 4 was burst. And, you know, the ignorance is bliss thing is...
It's amazing.
It is amazing because I then was like, well, oh my God.
Yeah.
And I've got to do this. And I then went and performed on the circuit in London. I think my first ever gig was called Bar 180.
And you were
not that far from here.
And you're doing characters?
And I did Lee Nelson.
You did Lee Nelson?
That very night.
So it was your first...
first thing on stage.
After Dr. Bob. So the footballer, Dr. Bob, they were in the video.
Yeah.
And then your first stage character... was Lee Nelson.
Exactly.
Wow. Mate, you were fucking... You don't do a draft, do you? No, I don't need to edit it. We'll just put it out. It'll be fine. Okay. So Lee Nelson. Now, Lee Nelson as a character, I've watched a bit. I've tried to kind of get it because like it's a British thing, I think. Essentially, South London. South London?
100% South London.
Chav.
Chav is a word that I've never used with him.
Interesting, because that's what's been written. That's like
I've never used the word chav with the character. Chav is derogatory, I guess, if you want to be particular about it. And I didn't ever want the portrayal to be that.
Well, that's the thing. I don't like from what I've seen of it. It doesn't seem like a mean-spirited character, like at all. You know, like impersonations, like I watch a lot of SNL, a lot of impersonations, like they're making fun of this aspect of this person, whereas like this doesn't seem mean. It seems like you're inhabiting a South London character, but like in a very cheeky kind of playful way.
Yes, and at first he was a bit more of a takedown of that sort of person, and as I inhabited him more, and I took him and was an actual stand-up comedian with him.
Sure.
And so suddenly you've got to be him in that moment with people there,
right.
And his actual personality has got to come out because you can't get away with doing sketches in a stand-up club. Because while that was going on, I remember them being introduced to this kind of other circuit, which was the sketch comedy circuit.
Right.
And it was totally different. It was more glass of red wine rather than a pint of beer.
Yeah.
It was more polite claps rather than raucous. It was much more encouraging and much more theatrical than the stand-up circuit.
Yeah, so that'd be more like the festival circuit now? Is that kind of similar to that?
I don't know whether something like that exists now or not. It was people who were doing characters and sketches.
Right, and it
was in a more genteel environment, a more encouraging, but it was less cutting edge. When you go to a comedy club, you've got to damn well make people laugh, and you better do it pretty quickly.
Friday night.
It's their Friday night.
It might be a stag do.
There's only one currency, and that's not a well-acted moment. It is make us laugh. And so Lee went into that and had to live and die by those rules.
Okay, and so what was initially kind of like a bit more one-dimensional was like then just spread out because he was occupying the stage for so long.
Well, he was more one-dimensional certainly at first when I started on the circuit, but he had already changed a bit by just putting him on the circuit. Because when I went on, I knew jokes is king.
Yeah.
And so
you were writing jokes.
I was writing jokes for him to say,
as possible.
And he has become now a celebration of that sort of person. He is just a cheeky, bubbly, effervescent, happy-go-lucky South London lad. It's not meant to be a vicious takedown of someone like that. It is a celebration of him and all he stands for.
That's definitely the impression. Like someone doesn't get the culture, doesn't like know the character for like a long period. It's like that's when I watch it. I'm like, yeah, this is like he's having fun, and like he incorporates aspects of your life. Am I getting that wrong? Like having kids and stuff. I assume that kind of coincided with you.
No, he had kids way before me.
Interesting.
I copied Lee.
Ah,
He was a trailblazer. I hadn't even heard of sex before him. I was in the Brodkin bubble. I'm a BMX.
Oh man, look, I'm so glad you got it for a man wearing a hat. That's where you want the sex talk from.
So I went on the circuit with Lee, and it worked, and people liked it. Yeah. And I think even on that first gig, people
enjoyed
it. People definitely enjoyed it on that first gig. And people believed, I think I remember even getting to an argument with someone there. Someone believed that I was for real, and and took offence at some of the, like, what I was taking the mick out of something to do with him, and he thought I was for real.
And you're like, no, this is a character that you gotta...
in fact, that's a funny story from doing him, because obviously so I was out and about doing a sketch with him. So this would have been for the video stuff that I was taking around the production things. And I was with the same guy who was filming me on the tube as
Sure,
Dr.
same
Bob.
cameraman?
Same cameraman, same dude, same guy.
Yeah.
I think he's now like a famous DOP or something.
Oh, great.
I'd love to look him up.
There you go. His career started well also.
Exactly. And because he was at film school and he was like a mate of mate. I was like, should we both hook up? We both have no idea what we're doing and we can maybe have no idea together.
There you go.
So I went out and we pretended to spray paint on this guy's white van.
Right.
And then I was there going, yeah, it's well funny, isn't it? Yeah, it was early Lee Nelson, right?
Yeah.
And the guy came out of his house with a knife.
Oh, wow.
And said, you fucking blah, blah, blah. I've been wanting to catch you, little prick, for fucking months. People had been spray painting on the side of his van. That's why we went and did it there, so I could pretend that was me.
Oh, right.
Now, you try telling someone, and this was in, this was near Arsenal's ground, so this was in, like, Seven Sisters or whatever.
Yeah, so like North London.
North London, not a nice part of North London, right?
Right, rough North London.
Rough North London, right?
Yeah.
And you try telling this guy who's had his van graffitied week after week by some oiks, that no, you don't understand, sir. What I'm doing here is I'm trying to deconstruct the sort of person who would do that. That's exactly, we are on the same side here, sir.
The fact that you've mistaken me for the kind of person who would do that is my greatest achievement.
Is exactly. Thank you, sir. Thank you. And you try persuading someone that you're a character. How do you do that?
Yeah.
I didn't have ID on me.
Sure.
I was in the tracksuit. I had shaved hair at the time.
Right, and did you change the accent? Did you?
Well, yeah, of course, you changed the accent.
And
what you think? That's
there's a
proof
cameraman.
That you
there's a cameraman here.
Yeah, but that's exactly what he thought. He thought that you'd go there and you'd film it for a laugh.
Oh, God.
So
that would be very difficult to explain. So a man holding a knife.
My biggest, most persuasive argument I had was, look at these cigarettes. They're herbals.
They wouldn't smoke herbal.
They wouldn't smoke herbals, mate.
Yeah.
You must believe me, sir. He calls the police.
Oh my God.
Police come along and meet us down to the station.
Yeah.
And it was just brilliant argument of him going, I've seen these guys graffitiing on the van. We weren't graffitiing. We had the spray paint out and were pretending.
Right.
And who are the police going to side with? I managed to persuade them I was who I was. They then looked through the video of what we'd done and saw that earlier on in the day we had actually graffitied in another area. Fortunately, doctors, police officers, a little bit of a bond there, and I suspect this guy as well with the knife was a complete and utter fucking prick.
Yeah.
So with me going, listen, chaps, honestly, there's been a huge misunderstanding. Yeah. Whereas him going, these little fuckers. So and they let me go. But I guess that was one of the early scrapes with the old Bill.
Right, that you got off. They were just like, fine, we'll give you a pass on this one because this guy seems like a prick. Yeah. Okay.
I think they confiscated the tape.
Right.
Yeah.
So, well, just, to get into the kind of, I guess, like, creation of this character. So create a character, inhabit the character, grow with the character.
As that character.
Get arrested as character. You're doing very well so far. You're going in deep early. But, like, why, North London, Jewish, doctor, I assume comfortable upbringing? Like
comfortable upbringing.
Comfortable
Absolutely,
upbringing.
yeah.
Why go South London? Like kind of cheeky.
It totally seems like a huge juxtaposition, may I say, but it was actually just one of many characters that I was performing.
Sure.
But it happened to be the one that I could most easily perform on the circuit because he was the most straightforward in terms of what he was, whereas the other characters needed a whole setup. He didn't. So it wasn't by design that I was like, I'm just going to do Lee Nelson. This is the one I'm going to take forward.
Yeah.
It was by nature of the medium by which I needed to excel.
Yeah, sure.
And so the circuit became Lee's.
Right, and
because
the other
characters were pushed to one side. Because with Jason, I had to go, what I'm going to do is I'm a footballer. I'm going to read out my autobiography, or with the doctor go, right, I'm a doctor, so I'm going to set up a surgery. He could just go, hello, I'm Lee Nelson. Let's just do this. Let's chat. Take the mick out of you. This is what I've done. This is what I am.
Yeah, and so it was just the easiest. It was the one you could do on the circuit.
It was the one that I could do on the circuit. And when I first went up to Edinburgh, in the show that I think you mentioned this before we started recording, everyone but himself.
Yeah, your
Lee
first
was
show.
just one of a few characters.
Right, and then
there was a holiday rep. There was on there. Go the opposite extreme. There was this guy who was like absolutely awesome, and he would now be an absolute. I just love Jeremy Corbyn. Like, he's totally screw the Tories, bro.
Yeah.
Jump on every bandwagon there is to jump on. He was utter hypocrite. Man, we've just got to get like all this, environmentally friendly stuff going. As soon as I've flown back from Laos, I'm going to totally, jump in with that.
Gap year guy.
Gap year. In fact, when Gap year guy came out, I was like, oof, that's exactly where I was heading.
Thank God I didn't keep going with that guy, because that guy just got done.
Exactly. I just got gap yard. So that was the first year I went to Edinburgh, which was soon after I realised, holy crap, Edinburgh.
Yeah, exactly.
Lee was just one of a few, but in the meantime I got back and then started doing more circuit stuff before and after, and so Lee excelled.
Well, okay, that. I mean, that makes sense. Like, that makes perfect sense to me. Like, as a performer. Just like, this is the one that works in a club because it's the easiest for the audience to grasp. And like on a Saturday night, they're not the quickest people that you're performing to in a comedy club. They're usually pissed. They're not really paying that much attention.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's not the quickest people, but what you need as stand-up comedy has no fourth wall.
Yeah.
So you have to exist in that moment.
Yeah.
And you can't be doing with a whole setup. There's no time. That's not the
and
forum.
People don't like it. Like,
because that's not what it is. That's not stand-up comedy. And so Lee became a stand-up comedian. Yeah,
so when you do stand-up, you are Lee Nelson because that is the way that it's worked out, the way that's figured itself out.
Exactly.
But so like, as a person growing up where you did in London, just because this podcast does, I do like to talk about the different parts of the UK, and like the different kind of areas. So like, as a person growing up north with that upbringing, and then pretending to be someone from South London with that kind of upbringing, how do you get reference points for it? Like, how did you know about that world? Did you have a friend who was very similar to like Lee Nelson, or did you like spend some time there growing up? Like, what was the...
All the characters that I do are just from observing people, things that interest you, that pique your interest, and just observing that person. And we don't live in a segregated community in London. That's the beautiful thing about London.
Yeah, everyone's moving everywhere.
Everyone's moving everywhere, and different parts have an amalgamation of different people. And so you just watch and enjoy and take them in. I think I saw people on the top deck of a bus just having the best time ever, oblivious to everyone else's need in their amazing world of just laughing at each other, joking with each other, being absolute idiots.
Yeah.
And that was one of the first moments I was like, oh my God, that would be a great person.
That guy.
So that guy.
The joyous.
Exactly.
No self-consciousness.
Absolutely. They were like, yeah, should we have a lark? Oh, she's just running down the bus. Hey, you get out next stop, I'll just spit out the window. That would be funny, right? Just in their world.
Right, and then like as you kept doing the characters, how long the character? What, like over a decade now?
Yeah, over a decade.
Did you find yourself kind of getting into Like, you know, you see some like South London people that have a chat to them, like just kind of, you know, suss things out. Because I mean, if I'm trying to figure anything out about the UK, I always try and insert myself into a conversation.
Into someone.
I mean, I'm married, but no.
Yes, so you're saying going about and chatting to people and interacting with people. You don't have to talk. You just watch and sit back and I think I remember at the time going hanging around a little bit in South London but on your day-to-day travels. Yeah. That's what you see in London. You see everyone, don't you?
Of course, yeah, because they're coming up or they're going, you're going down, and like,
Exactly. So
the tube and the bus.
Exactly.
That is the key.
100%.
The tube and the
circle
bus.
line.
Circle line.
You get a bit of north, east, south, west. Right. It's a beautiful thing.
They're just riding back and forth on the circle line, being like, yeah, fuck, that's a good quirk.
And again, ignorance is bliss. And I wasn't thinking, oh my God, are people going to be offended by this portrayal of someone? I was just going, that will be a fun guy to inhabit and to be. Just do it. Yeah. Just like I did with the Doctor. That will be a funny thing to take the mick out of. Just do it.
Have you got negative feedback from it? Is that part of it?
Well, it's comedy, so of course you do.
But just like people like, you know, just like kind of people from South London being like, mate, what you're doing is not all right. Like, you know.
No, absolutely not. It's the North Londoners who take offence.
Really? They hate it.
People who are offended on other people's behalf. I guess I can't speak for everyone. I can hardly speak for anyone but myself. But I think if look, comedy always divides people. Yeah. Because it's either hilarious or you are going, how can anyone find that funny? And it seems to cause people such angst and fury that someone, how can you find that funny? And the other person's going, how can you not find that funny? So yes, there's always.
So it's not from the South London people. It's always from other people being like, "How dare you pretend to be like that guy I've never met?"
Yeah.
And you're like,
"Yes,
cool, good input. We'll see you later."
Yeah.
I think the reason they get annoyed is because like if they don't get a joke, it makes them feel dumb, and like that's why they get so uptight about it. You know what I mean? Like, how could you? What is funny about that? And
what is funny about that?
Like, how do I not find the funniness in that? Does this guy think he's better than me?
Comedy it's
come out hard.
It is interesting how it does that to people, and you know, everyone loves taking a bit of offence in this day and age.
It's a good time
for social media. It's a good time to get angry with something.
Never been easier to take offence. Never been easier to tell someone you're offended. That is the convenience we have in this age.
It's a badge of honour.
But do a lot of South London people come see the show? Like they're your fans?
Sure, 100%. My first tour. So, cut a long story short, went up to Edinburgh another year and did a Lee hour. And then that got commissioned on BBC Three as his Well Good Show.
Right.
Because I was doing Lee more and more on the circuit. And so it made sense to put that in an actual show.
As the character,
the character, just
and not do multiple characters. Show. I mean, that's what Sacha Baron Cohen did, right? Like he'd do, he'd kind of just really get into a character and then just kind of finish that character. And then, you know what I mean? Like he wouldn't mix it up.
Yeah, well, which
makes sense to me.
His TV show did have different ones.
Oh, okay.
His TV show, I think when he did a film, it would be that, because you'd have to get into that for many, many months.
Yeah.
So no.
So, no.
So I went up to Edinburgh, got that commission, then I did a tour straight off the back of Well Good Show.
Yeah.
And that was just, you know, the straight off the circuit onto a tour, and that was raucous. That was insane. I mean, that was proper boisterous.
The people you were pretending to be were coming out.
100%.
You were performing on the top of the bus.
100%.
Yeah, awesome.
100%. It was, and
that must be the ultimate compliment, right?
It was great. I think. I needed we said the next tour we got to get you a bouncer. So I had because I did, you know, meet and greet afterwards, and they got pretty het up.
Right. Yeah.
They got pretty crazy.
And so you had a bouncer next to you.
I had a bouncer next to me.
Wow.
By that stage, things had calmed down a little bit, so I don't know how much bouncing he actually had to do. It was the easiest bouncing job ever.
Yeah. Well,
Lee, can I get a photo with you, chap? Hurry up, mate. All right.
Just serious. Okay, and then so that's what happened. He's had multiple shows. Lee Nelson? No, one show
on TV.
Yeah.
He has had 3 of his own series.
Wow. And now you're moving away from that.
I'm certainly adding to the pack. Is what I would say. So just going back to my roots of where I started, which was multiple characters, multiple things.
Sure.
And then Lee kind of charged ahead and forged a great career for himself. And I'm still doing Lee. Absolutely. There's
no retirement for Lee.
There's no retirement for Lee. I'd be an idiot to do that because it's still great and it's still fun and it's still really popular, and I think this is the biggest tour I've ever done.
Sure.
So, and that's still going now, but this new branch for me of doing stuff as myself is super exciting, super challenging.
Well, what inspired that? Do you look at doing yourself
just
as
sick
like...
of putting on the shorts? I can't take this anymore.
Well, yeah, no. I've seen the outfit has developed for Lee as well.
The outfit's developed as he's got kind of more successful. It felt weird going, I've got no money, I've got nothing, when he's had 3 series on TV, hosted live at the Apollo, been in it a few more times. It's like he has to have opened his eyes a little bit more. So now he's got the suit. I mean, admittedly, it's still got the security tag on.
Yeah.
So it's still
fun.
It's still fun and it's still in character. But he's now more like, hello everyone, hello Apollo. He can take that now.
Yeah. No, I get that.
But wearing my own clothes is great when you do it. It's just saving so much time.
It's just convenient.
It's just amazing. No doing anything, no brushing the hair, no changing your clothes, roll into the car, turn up at your gig, be yourself. It's really easy.
Well,
it's not easy. I'd say it's really not easy.
Well, that's what I was going to ask. Because like as a character, I guess you're kind of being given a direction. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
It's like, talk about this kind of stuff because this is who you are.
Absolutely.
Whereas like now, you're being yourself. You're kind of figuring out who you are.
So to use some pretentious analogy, it's not pretentious actually, it's a rubbish analogy. But when you do a character, you know exactly with which the colours you're going to use. And you use those colours and you use just those colours.
Right.
And so you can get on with, the writing and the painting quicker.
Yeah.
Because you know what you are doing and you know...
Picasso's Blue Period. I just made it pretentious, baby.
Oh, thank you, mate.
I got an education.
I needed that after that.
I keep it to myself. I told you.
Keep it down, son.
In the closet. Closet intellectual.
Whereas... So it's easier to get going.
Yeah.
But obviously, you're only painting with the same colours. You can add in a few more, like with Lee growing up and talking about Brexit and talking about Donald Trump. But still, he comes from that same place. Yeah. Whereas when you're yourself, you can do anything you want. You can paint with any colour. You can make a collage out of pasta. you can do papier-mâché balloon. You can express yourself however which way you want. Yeah. Which is... I guess in the long run, it's more interesting and it's more you can take it anywhere. But to start with, it is like, wow, where do I even start? Where what do I do? And that's been the journey that I'm on now.
And how long has that journey been going? Just over a year?
3 days.
3 days? Oh my God.
No, how long has it been going? Good question. A year and 2 months.
A year and 2 months. Yeah. And do you feel like it's starting, yeah, crystallize a little bit?
Yeah.
And does it make you look at Lee differently, or is that just like a completely different brand?
Totally, yeah.
Oh wow, okay.
It's been great. Like, where does Lee end and where do I start, and where does that happen? And what was great, I had a recent breakthrough. I'm like, no, I know what I am, and I know what Lee is. And we have very little performance overlapping. Sure. And whereas previous to that, I'll be on stage going, hang on, how much of this do I want to borrow from? How much has he stolen from what should be mine? Give it back, Lee, damn it.
So you're like, I could do that material from my point of view.
Yeah.
Whereas now you're like, no, that's a different...
Yes. Or I could do that performance. It was always... Yeah. When you start... And you've probably forgotten this, but when you start as a comedian, you have to work out everything, which is your whole being, your whole presence, the way
absolutely.
You hold the mic, the way you utter the words, your whole take on everything. that is what you need to work out, and you need to do that publicly.
Because
that's what stand-up is.
I've always said it's like learning guitar by busking. That's like there's constantly a public response.
100% agree with that. It's an apprenticeship. And
it's just like everyone's kind of watching you, being like, "Yeah, fuck, he didn't nail that chord at all. Couldn't he do this at home?" It's like, no.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's why the circuit is so, brilliant and joyous, because you can just have a busk.
Yeah.
And I don't know what the circuit's like in Australia, but the fact that, I'm now off to a gig round the corner from here, and I'm closing that show, which is great, but a few months ago I would have been asking to go along and open that, and there'll be few people there who are like me on my BMX, many years ago, going, can I just have 5 minutes?
Yeah.
And you can get it, and can I
get 5 minutes on TV, please?
Can I get 5 minutes on TV? And they'll be, and there's been some nights where you're like, holy cow, I haven't got it. That was embarrassing. Right. But that's fine. That's what you got to go through.
Sorry, that's an interesting question. Is like, with bombing, like if you have a bad set, is it better as Lee or better as you?
You mean, is it worse to do badly as myself or badly as Lee?
Correct.
Definitely badly as yourself, because there's no one to blame.
That's interesting.
Also, don't forget, I'm at a different
career
stage
point
now.
as well.
So some people at least will know who I am. Yeah. Aren't you meant to be a professional, mate?
Yeah.
Yeah. But this is different, all right? I liken it to if a Premier League goalkeeper wants to go and play midfield. So it's the same sport, but it's totally different.
Yeah, like, this guy's really good, actually. Like, I know that name. And then like, just like, well, what's he doing
Christ.
there?
Yeah. Isn't he meant to be a footballer?
Yeah.
And that's how it has sometimes felt.
So has that been like quite humbling? But like, I assume...
Of course, the circuit's amazing. Absolute leveler. Love it.
But must be like so interesting to just kind of be like, oh, I can talk about being Jewish if I want to. It'd be a bit weird for Lee Nelson to just...
Can I just say, listen, I know Jews aren't allowed to ask people, but I have converted. It's like...
just like a different... Yeah, it must just be interesting to kind of explore those different parts of yourself.
Yeah, different religions, equality.
Yeah.
So it is interesting, and that's what we were starting to talk about at the very top of the talk, that I've started to think about that.
Yeah.
And what's been interesting to me is it's allowed me to think about life and things that I care about and identity and all stuff that I should be talking about at university with a bong.
I mean, yeah, I think it's really interesting because, like, for me, comedy is like very self-indulgent, and then it's just kind of like, how do I feel about that thing? And then you just kind of talk about it or you don't talk about it. Whereas, like, I think with a character, it seems to be more of like, it's like almost a writing task. Because you're like, what does that guy think about that thing?
It's a writing and performance task. You have to be able to carry it off, and you have to be able to write for them. But you're right, as a stand-up, it's this fascinating balance between, and look, I'm learning. I'm a year and a teeny bit into it. As a stand-up, I feel like an absolute newbie, but it's this balance.
It must feel slow compared to your old career when after a month you were on TV. Gotta get that BMX
Where's my
back
Netflix
out.
special?
My lucky BMX.
It's this fascinating balance between you've got to be absolutely self-assured to get on that stage, but absolutely humble enough to be able to connect with the audience and not come across as just hugely arrogant. Yeah. So you have to carry it with humility.
And that, I guess, because like with Lee, like you kind of like, I'm carrying it with this charm, I'm carrying it with this like kind of working class, like kind of.
It's come out and it's just like, yes, let's get this party started.
Yeah.
Whee!
Whereas when
blah blah blah, it's in their face. It's this is what I think. Oh, I've just done this. I'm loving it.
Yeah. Whereas with you, it's like, I used to be a doctor.
Yeah.
I've got kids.
Exactly.
I'm Jewish.
Exactly.
I don't know how I feel about lawnmowers.
Dude,
you got to deal with that.
Have you seen my set?
I've not seen you. Oh man,
the lawnmower stuff.
Are you doing lawnmower shit?
I've got 20 minutes on lawnmowers.
I had my big lawnmower joke. It's a fucking opening to my leaf blower joke. No, I'm lying. I'm totally lying.
Oh, mate, I was teeing up for the great. I thought you've obviously weaved this in so you get to say your leaf blower.
If you think I burn my fucking jokes on a podcast, you're mistaken, sir. This is me being funny off the goddamn cuff.
Should have told me at the beginning.
Yeah,
damn.
I know. I'm sorry, you got to burn a lot of this material now. Look, mate, perfect timing. We nailed it. Is there anywhere they can find you, these lovely people, my lovely listeners? Are you going to be in Australia anytime soon?
I hope so, but no exact plans is the truth.
Sure.
So I am coming off the back of a big Lee tour. There's only about 8 dates left. That's been like a 180 date thing, which is pretty monster.
That is ridiculous.
And the stuff that I'm doing myself, I'm just popping along to different clubs, different nights of the week, not making a fuss of it.
I can vouch for that. And you'll slide in and slide out. Catch them at Top Secret a bit. I think Top Secret's a regular haunt.
Bosh, absolutely.
Great club.
And thanks all the clubs in London just letting me come along and have a little play around,
accommodating you, Twitter, Instagram,
doing my wind blowing jokes.
Your wind blowing jokes.
And then my leaf blowing jokes.
Lawn blowing jokes. Come on, baby.
So. And I'm not announcing stuff. I'm not saying, because I'm just keeping it a little bit.
Yeah, easy.
Just let's make sure I'm any good at it before I tell people.
Before I start announcing where I'm busking.
Exactly.
I'll just turn up. But yeah, you're on Twitter as yourself and as Lee Nelson.
On Twitter as myself and Lee Nelson.
Great.
And
website,
on Facebook and website and blah blah blah.
Well, give me the website. Just tell them these lovely people.
Well, I think up and running is LeeNelson.com.
Okay. LeeNelson.com.
LeeNelson.com.
And then, great. The way we end the podcast is you say cheers, mate.
Cheers, mate.
You want to have another run at it?
Cheers, mate.
And that's why you're a professional. Good talking to you, Simon Brodkin. Man, what an interesting chat with Simon Brodkin, a.k.a. Lee Nelson, a.k.a. Dr. Bob, a.k.a. Jason Bent, a man of many characters whose first show was called Everyone But Himself, or Everyone But Myself. I don't know. I did my research, but it's slipping through at the moment. That's okay. I'll put a link up to his website so you can keep up with everything Brodkin or Lee Nelson. He continues to perform a sold-out tour as Lee Nelson and club spots around London as Simon Brodkin. It must be weird having 2 careers. I definitely am still just impressed by the imagination to have a character who's not you, like to perform as someone who's not you, because being a comedian is a real pain in the ass. Just kind of thinking about what you think about things all the time. I cannot imagine doing that pretending to be someone else. That just seems like too much effort. And the fact that he was able to do it so convincingly that some guy came at him with a knife and accused him of vandalism, that's impressive. That's some Daniel Day-Lewis method acting shit right there. But super interesting conversation. I'm sure you guys will agree. Definitely as someone not from the UK coming across and just... like, there is a big difference between North London and South London in a lot of ways, especially between a North London Jewish doctor and your kind of South London lad having a good time, tracksuits, fitted caps, polo shirts, all that business. And just the way that Simon managed to do it so easily. Just kind of become that other person and find success so quickly. That blows my goddamn mind. Of course, I'm incredibly jealous of that. It just seems like he was one of those people that got into Twitter when Twitter just started. You know, those people like were on Twitter early and they've just got hundreds of thousands of followers because they were in at the right time. But I don't even know if it counts as the right time. I think character comedy kind of came up with YouTube, with the internet, but he was going around on his BMX all analog. But he got on TV before he'd ever done a gig. That is something I've never heard before and something I will bet big money that no one will ever do again. I think that is basically impossible. But he nailed it and then built a career, a massive career off the back of that. Please go check him out performing as himself, especially if you are a Lee Nelson fan, because I'm sure you'll find it interesting. Beyond that, thank you again for listening. It is always a goddamn pleasure chatting to you jerk-offs week in, week out. I think that was a great episode, and I'm going to leave it there. Until next time, good to hear from you, good to chat to you, and I will catch you next week. Cheers, guys. Catch you later.